can be closed out. We have also with us on the phone right now Anthony Scaramucci of SkyBridge Capital. Anthony, your take on these events as they have unfolded here this afternoon.
Well, listen, it's still unclear, but I want to direct our viewers, Trish, to isitdown.com. And what you'll see today is that there are many sites down, not just the New York Stock Exchange. In addition to United and the Wall Street Journal, Barron's, Market Watch is down, Zero Hedge is down. And so this may all be a coincidence. Like I said earlier on Neil's show, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it does feel like something has happened here that's disruptive to our markets. And so I think if that is the case, then, boy, they're going to have an awful big apology to people not letting them know sooner. Letting an hour and a half, 2 hours go is inexcusable, as the mayor said earlier today. Now, as it relates to money managers around the street, Trish, the good news is we survey over 1,200 hedge funds, and we've got 34 in our portfolio, all of which are saying that they've had no disruption, they've been able to clear trades, and the markets are more or less liquid despite the disruption at the New York Stock Exchange. So that's very good news for today and for the Wall Street community.
Also joining us, stay with us, Anthony. Steve Moore, I want to bring you in, of course, Fox News contributor with the Heritage Foundation. Steve, this, if it is an attack, we were talking about the significance of the New York Stock Exchange symbolically. What does the NYSE to you represent?
It represents the American stock market, and I disagree a little bit with Charlie. I mean, I think this is significant that the NYSE is closed. And by the way, I think that what happened in United this morning was incredibly disruptive to travel around the country. So what this is telling us, we don't know, obviously, if this is a cyber attack, but it does tell us how vulnerable we are to this. But I want to make another point that Wilbur Ross made earlier on the show, which is there is turmoil going on around the world as all this is happening. I mean, there's turmoil in Greece, there's turmoil in China, there's turmoil in many of these South American countries like Argentina and Venezuela. And that's the primary reason the stock market is down 200 points today. There is, in all of these international markets, I can't remember a time recently where you've had more uncertainty about what's going to happen with the world financial situation.
You know, you're absolutely right. There is a very precarious situation as we watch and wait to see whether or not Greece is going to remain in the Eurozone. And of course, as we watch events unfolding in China with the government, they're desperately trying to prop up the market. We here are looking at a market that's off 208 points. And to your point, Stephen, yes, absolutely. All of this tied, of course, to some of the international headwinds we're seeing. However, there are concerns, as we've been talking about here with Tom Kellerman from Trend Micro, about the potential for cyber attacks here on our own soil. And that's part of a much larger, bigger theme. I want to bring in Bill Daly, former FBI agent, to talk about that. Bill, we are hearing from multiple authorities right now, including the FBI, that are saying, no, this is not a cyber threat. But can we really rule that out this early in the process?
Well, Trish, not knowing all the particulars around what happened downtown today, what maybe even happened last night, apparently there was some software upgrade, at least that's what early indications were, that may have caused this to occur. I think in either way, whether it was intentional or whether it was accidental, it is a confidence issue for the New York Stock Exchange, is that whether it's testing out their software and making sure it runs operationally well, or whether there was some failure in security, either one are big issues for them to overcome in the marketplace. Now, having said that, I think, broadly, much like your other guests have been saying, is the whole issue of kind of cybersecurity, cyber attacks really is kind of a main theme throughout the industry today. Many of the people we deal with on a daily basis, large corporations, are very much concerned about this, are running very quickly to be able to deal with the issues of how to not only preclude it from happening, but what happens when it occurs. And we can see today it's a big issue around how an incident like this has occurred. What communications come out to stakeholders? How are you managing expectations? Are you
and there's been a lot of criticism here of the New York Stock Exchange, of the CEO, for not getting out there in front of the issue, for not coming on and saying, look, everybody should take a big, deep breath. This is not going to affect the overall market in a huge way. The New York Stock Exchange is actually a pretty slim portion of trading volumes these days.
Yeah, but it goes down to the point of if they're coming out and saying it was a technical glitch and don't worry about it, and tomorrow it turns out to be something different, this is where a lot of organizations go awry, is they come out too prematurely without knowing all the answers. So my thought today is that we hope that it's not, but it's an indication of how vulnerable and sensitive our systems are.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's one of the things I think that scares all of us. Tom Kellerman, you and I have talked about this before. Anthony Scaramucci, I mean, all of our information out there, all our financial information, we're not just talking about ourselves as individuals, but of course, institutions, trading platforms, all of this is based on technology, which, look, if we're not running 5 steps ahead of the hackers, Anthony, puts us in a vulnerable spot.
Well, yeah, it does, but the real problem is it's not the invasion. We have to damage those guys before they start the invasion, and I think that's the next generation of anti-hacking. The problem is we get these people in our systems, and then we try to get them out. The new generation of anti-hackers, Trish, are going to be focused on going after those people in the nest that they live in and disrupting, literally hacking the hackers, okay? And that's going to be the next generation of this thing.
Well, the problem with that, of course, Anthony, and you know this as well as I do, oftentimes these big institutions, they become so bureaucratic, they get a little set in their ways. I'm thinking of the Office of Personnel Management there, our own U.S. government, which is so vulnerable to attack. Millions of people obviously getting hurt with their information being exposed as a result of the hack attack there on our own government. And so you just question whether or not institutions are going to have the fortitude and the foresight, frankly, to run that far ahead of these hackers.
Well, I don't think we're going to have a choice, Trish.
You're right. We're not going to have a choice. Go ahead, Tom.
Trish, there's 3 governance issues that still exist that are profound. First of all, your head of cybersecurity shouldn't be reporting to your CIO. That's like your defensive coordinator reporting to your offensive coordinator. They should be reporting directly to the CEO and to the board. Secondarily, the percentage of IT budgets is still less than 7% of IT budgets are spent on sustainability and cybersecurity, which is ridiculous because we continue to play the 3 little pigs game. And then lastly, how we deal with our information supply chain, how we secure that should go beyond just the contracts that we have. And to the former special agent's advice earlier, crisis communications need to be refined. We need to have crisis communications in place for the inevitability of these events because they will occur.